There's a recent shooting in Colorado that unfortunately claimed the lives of 3 people over the weekend. Now, a 33-year-old man who I'm not naming, so I'm not going to say his name, he reportedly went on a random shooting spree with an AR-15 rifle. It's a semi-automatic rifle. A lot of people consider them an assault rifle. I know a few gun experts that are not exactly happy with that designation, so I'm just going to call it an AR-15 to be accurate. Now, sadly, stuff like this seems to be happening in America even more. It's becoming more prevalent. There's more shootings of more than 3 people, mass shootings. There's a lot of problems with this, right? But according to Raw Story, this shooting actually might have been prevented if a certain police dispatcher had actually taken their job seriously. Now, I'll get into the details from the Denver Post. According to the Post, Naomi Bettis had called 911 on Saturday after spotting her neighbor, whom she recognized but didn't actually know by name, walking outside his home carrying an AR-15. Now, Colorado is an open carry state. So let's just get that out there. So what he was doing wasn't exactly illegal, but it still caused her some, basically it made her suspicious. He was seeming suspicious. According to Bettis, he had a distraught look on his face, and it looked like he had had a couple of rough days or so. A little distraught. Suspicious, right? Not overly dangerous at that point, but suspicious. Okay, so she called 911 and relayed that information, and the 911 operator or dispatcher just declined to send police and actually started lecturing her on the fact that Colorado was an open carry state. So this guy, as I said, walking down the street, AR-15, looking distraught, and they couldn't even send anybody to talk to him. Great. Now, let's be fair, he could have been a good guy with a gun, right? While having a stroll and exercising his rights. People do that. You don't know if he had bad intent. In this case, he definitely had bad intent. But how can you know? Can you really tell a good guy with a gun from a bad guy with a gun? You certainly can't tell it on first glance. And that, I think, is why open carry is ridiculous, among other reasons, right? Now, police eventually did respond, but only after the 33-year-old had already shot 2 people, 2 women and a man. So 3 people. Authorities identified the victims Monday evening as 35-year-old Andrew Allen Myers, 42-year-old Jennifer Michelle Vasquez, and 34-year-old Christina Rose Baccus-Gallela. Now, witnesses said that this man had shot the victims one by one as they were begging for their lives. Neighbor Matthew Abshire said it looked totally random. He walked calmly and collectedly. His demeanor was like he was having a stroll in the park. So first he was distraught, then he started shooting people, and it seemed to have calmed him down. How strange. Now, police had shot and killed the gunman about 7 minutes after they first arrived. 7 minutes. Now, that's very important. Keep that number in mind. 7 minutes they responded to the scene after he had already shot someone. Then they had a shootout. Now, this was a terrible tragedy, right? But it seems like it's one they could have prevented by, I don't know, at least just checking him out. And I'm not saying that, they should roll up and shoot him within 2 seconds. I don't want to see anybody do that unless they're actually in actual danger. Now, up until he shot somebody, he wasn't actually a danger, but he was suspicious. And therefore, I think, warranted a little bit of questioning. There's nothing wrong with being questioned. That's not taking away your rights. If you say, hey, what you up to today? We got a little bit of report. Everything okay, sir? Or are you just out here exercising your rights? I don't see any problem with asking questions. As I said, open carry is legal. However, it's legal there, right? And this guy was, up until the point where he committed a crime, was exercising his legal rights. Now, Raw Story points out this case stands in contrast to at least 3 others in states that also allow open carry. Now, for example, dispatchers in Ohio sent police to 2 calls last year involving John Crawford and Tamir Rice, who were each shot and killed on site by law enforcement, although they were carrying toy weapons in an open carry state. Now, what's the difference here? Well, what's the difference? Well, this shooter that I've chosen not to identify was a 33-year-old white man, whereas John Crawford and Tamir Rice were both African American. I hate to inject race into this, but it seems to be a factor. This shooter was white. So here you had the same situation. You had a man who was open carrying what looked to be a gun, and what was a gun. But when it came to Tamir Rice and John Crawford, they looked like guns, but they weren't guns. And immediately police went and killed both of them. However, the dispatcher wouldn't even send police to this guy, who was acting much more suspicious. Now, importantly, in the case of Tamir Rice, the person who actually called the police, the dispatcher said, "Hey, I want you to check it out. It's probably fake, but just make sure, just check out and see what he's doing." The police roll up. 2 seconds later, Tamir Rice is dead. Same situation. Hey, check this guy out. He seems suspicious. He's walking down the street with an AR-15. Please check it out. Can you see the difference in reaction here? If someone reports a white person openly carrying a weapon, but seemingly suspicious, gee, that's okay, let him go. He's exercising his rights. But if you're a black man or a child in Tamir Rice's case, and you have what appears to be a gun, well, we're not exactly sure if he's a danger, regardless of what the law is. He could be peacefully exercising his rights as well. But here's the bias. Here's the stereotyping that comes into play. Black people are automatically considered more dangerous if they have the gun than white people. That's not true. That's not true. And this kind of shows the inherent subconscious bias that we have about black people with legal guns, by the way, versus white people who also have legal guns. That is a big, big problem.